Good morning and welcome to the Secret Origins podcast. I am here with Gabi Porter of AlterEgo Marketing, who today is going to be telling us a couple of the secrets of auditing a website for SEO. How do you make a website rank? That's what everybody wants to know.
So the step one for SEO is kind of foundational. You have to make sure that your website is fast and it has all of the necessary capabilities to even handle traffic, to handle, searcher intent and everything kind of the basis of a website. It may look good, it may look pretty, but there's a lot underneath the surface that really plays a big part in SEO.
Beautiful. So think about this for a second. So if a business owner has no idea where they stand online, right? They don't know where they're ranking. They don't know what they're showing up for. They don't know how their website is. They just don't even know where a starting point is. Maybe they're working with somebody. Maybe their niece or their cousin or something made their website. How did a business owner start? Like, where do they go to find how they're doing right now?
So there are a lot of free tools available online. Step one is probably like a domain authority checker. And then as a business owner, it is super important that you have the ability to log into your website and that you know where your domain is, where your hosting is, and who's paying for that. That's probably really, really important. I'd say top of the list. And then a couple other easier tips and tricks would be just to Google the things on your website and that a couple of your customers may be searching for. Do you show up? Do you show up how you want to? And if some of those keywords are really important to you, then you may be able to look into more of like an on-page SEO strategy, either on your own or with an agency to help really rank for those keywords.
That's beautiful. And one of the things too is we talk about websites in general. We kind of talk about the different categories. Like when you've got a mom and pop shop, one of the first things they need to do is just check how they show up on like local listings, how they show up on things like Facebook or that Google listing that shows up in your search results. How do they start there, and what do they need to make sure is done right?
So my favorite quote from, I can't remember their name, but so you can't read the label when you're inside the bottle. And
Roy Williams, Wizard of Ads.
oh, yeah. So it's really important to just kind of take a step back and look at your business through your customers' eyes. If you were to go to your Facebook page kind of out of the blue, what would you see? Would you see an updated post from today about today's specials or a new service? Or do you see a Happy New Year's post from 2019? That's a really important thing to kind of take note of. Look at how your customers are seeing you. And then as for kind of more of a local listing standpoint, again, kind of that just log on, Google yourself, Google services around what you're trying to roll out to your customer base and see if you show up. Google My Business is one of the most important, absolutely free tools from Google that you can utilize as a small business owner. Check it, make sure you own it. If you don't own it, try and get access to it in any way that you possibly can. Keep it updated, keep your hours updated, because no one likes to go to a place that says it's open and it's been closed for 6 months, or they all
Yes.
of a sudden are not open on that day and the Facebook didn't say they were closed and the Google My Business didn't say they were closed and the website's broken. It's just a hassle. So making life easier for your customers and trying to put yourself in their shoes is probably step one.
Oh, I love that. And two, when we talk about local listings too here at Alter Ego, one of the things that comes up all the time is just like, what would be helpful to you as a customer? So putting yourself in their shoes, and then you go and look at your website or your local listing or your Facebook page, and then go look at the 3, 4, 5, 6 competitors who are doing business in your same category, and make sure that if you do everything that they do, that your profile say that, right? Gabby, you and I have worked together for a long time, and I feel like a lot of what we do for clients is some of the most basic, obvious stuff that just no one's in charge of, no one's taking care of. And to any business out there, and Gabby, I want you to answer this, but to any business out there, it's like, you can do this, right? It's not that hard. You just have to try.
Yeah, look at the people that you follow, look at the people in your industry that you look up to. What are they doing? Newsflash, you can do that too. You can do it your own way. It doesn't have to be, full-blown copy and paste, but if you see someone in your market and you're like, wow, that is a really good idea, go try it. Go try it in your own market. And if you really feel weird about it, give credit where credit is due, but just see who's doing it well and who you idolize, or maybe who's doing it not so well, and really, really kind of try and go a couple of steps ahead of that as well.
And so the other example I have is a lot of times when, when you and I are starting to look at a new client from ground zero, one of the things that we do is we go look at different markets. So if you're a tree trimmer and you don't want to copy the other tree trimmers because nobody's doing it well, or a soap maker, or you make your own, you have a bakery, go find someone in a large market who's doing it really well and borrow some of their good ideas. Do they have good photos of their food? Do they have good information on their hours? You don't have to reinvent the wheel here. Find somebody who's doing the things you want to be doing and blend your own version of it together.
Exactly. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Beautiful. So then when you get a little further into it, a couple steps farther along, when you have, let's say, a website that's starting to get a little traffic that has is making you a little bit of money maybe, what is something that you want to go cover your bases? What are some things that you really need to make sure at the medium level that you're doing well?
Oh yeah. So if you're starting to get a little bit of more traffic and a little bit of the availability for some potential ad spend, honestly, it kind of goes back to base one of like just making sure that not only is your website pretty fast and pretty foundationally sound, now it has to exceed those standards. You need it to be lightning fast. No one is going to stay on a website for more than half a second nowadays. It has to be lightning fast. You need a content delivery network for any photos that you put on that website to be extraneously housed. That way they can just feed into your website. No lag time. And then, just making sure that your website can handle a lot of traffic. If you really are starting to move kind of into that second bucket, you need the ability to have a lot of traffic on your website, and making sure that, if one blog really just goes through the roof and absolutely explodes, goes viral, you can't have your website crashing. So, going through some of those tests and making sure that it can handle a lot of traffic and that it is secure. If you start kind of getting into that second tier, you've got a lot more eyes on you. And if they see that your website's making money and has a lot of traffic, that's kind of when the dark side of the internet kind of starts to creep its ugly head. So you have to make sure that your website is super secure, especially if you have any sort of like membership login or anything like that.
So having an SSL was one, but the other one I want you to dive into a little bit, and you touched on this, is it has to be fast. But one of the reasons it has to be fast is because everybody's viewing your site on mobile. How does that play? How does mobile web play into a business owner's mind right now, especially if they're maybe less tech savvy and they've had something that's a little bit older? Why is that so important?
So with mobile usage, start off with a super fun statistic. 80 to 90% of your web traffic is coming from a mobile device. No one, not to say no one, very few people nowadays are going to think of something and, you know what, I'm going to write that down so when I get to my desktop at home, I'm going to look it up. Not happening. Everyone is going to pull out the handy dandy computer in their pocket, and they're going to just try to find whatever information they're searching for. Do cats like parsley? Anything super random, but it's happening from that phone. And again, kind of goes into that, the speed. It's got to be fast. It's got to answer the question immediately, because if your website doesn't answer the question, Google will try to answer the question. And then kind of that they're keeping them on Google. They're not letting them get to your website. So if your website is fast, efficient, has the right answer, mobile websites are super important in today's market. And, we have more tools now than we did, say, 5-6 years ago, in order to really efficiently be able to create mobile responsive websites. At AlterEgo, we typically refer to them as mobile first. So, we will design it for a desktop, but our main focus, our main priority is that mobile responsiveness. How does it look on an iPhone screen? How does it look on a tablet? Because there's hundreds of different devices with different screen resolutions now. How does your website look on all of those? Things like buttons and tap points. If they're too small, no one can click on them, and then they're going to get bored and frustrated and leave.
Well, and not only that, but you had a great piece of advice earlier that I want to bring back to the surface right now. Is it's like, you wonder how you show up on Google. Google yourself. If you wonder how you show up on a mobile device, go to your website on a mobile device and click through every page. Make sure it actually works. And I feel like everybody's looking for this really complex tool to figure these things out. Like they have to have some audit done.
They
And yes,
exist. Super
at
complex tools like that exist, but just look at your website on your phone.
well, and send it to a couple friends. If you're a small business owner, you don't have budget, and that's the person I like to talk to the most. Is because if you have budget, pick up the phone and call someone like us. We'll help you walk through that process. But if you don't have budget, Google yourself. Make sure it makes sense. Make sure your hours are updated. Make sure it doesn't load super slow. Make sure it shows up on your phone and looks good and it's easy to click. And that's your starting point, because then when you identify what's wrong, it's easier to ask for help cost effectively.
Yeah, one step over the line, outside the box, kind of looking in is really going to give you so much more perspective. And like you said, it sounds so simple, but how often do you look at your own website? How often do you look at your own social media pages is probably a good example. What does your social media page look like to everybody else? Well, I don't know. I just make a post and then I go back to the news feed and I just scroll. So it's kind of that similar mindset of like, yes, you can look back at your own website, but it's hard to think about that. So yeah, taking a step outside the box, looking in for a moment, and then kind of like you said, just identifying those problems. It's easier to fix a problem once you know it's there.
Beautiful. So this has been Social Media Ambushing with AlterEgo Marketing and Gabi Porter. Thanks. Bye, Gabi.